In any place around the world where you have wildlife coming into contact with humans, ultimately wildlife suffers. What happens to snakes that come into contact with humans when you translocate them? And translocation is basically movement of a snake from one place to another. In my specific case, it's a translocation of an unwanted snake from someone's backyard, someone's private property, onto another piece of land that it wasn't originally. And the idea is you want the best of both worlds. You don't want to kill the animal, but you also don't want it in your backyard. So you move them. And it seems like a very good solution. I use radio telemetry, so I basically had a vet help me implant a little radio inside these snakes. So you catch one, you put it under anesthesia, implant it with a little radio, release it back into the wild, and then track its movements every few days. So that's quite easy. That's quite standard. The issues came around where my snakes are arboreal, so ideally they go up in trees. They live up in trees, and it's very hard to track something that is 12 meters above your head, and it's maybe about 50 centimeters long. So you sort of have to go by faith that you are actually tracking the snake and not something else that ate it. There's one occasion where I tracked a snake and it seemed to have moved really, really far, and I was really confused, like what's the snake doing? Why is it moving so far? And I tracked it to a king cobra, which had eaten one of my study animals. So that was a fun day. That was interesting. I did my fieldwork in Hong Kong, where you have a very pronounced typhoon season. Unfortunately, I'm not able to work around that. You have to track the animal. So there would be times you'd go out in the pouring rain, or worry about your non-waterproof equipment. So it's a lot of logistics, I think, when it comes to field work that really trip you up. The snakes I work with are very poorly studied. So they're really common, but there's really not much done on them. So every time I'd go out in the field and collect something, every maybe 3 or 4 weeks I would find something that I knew was new information on the species, and that keeps me going. It's awesome. It's fascinating. It's wonderful when you get to create new content. That's what really gets me going. You go to each different culture around the world, and people have reverence as well as extreme hatred and fear of snakes wherever you go, and it elicits a response in people, whether it's negative or positive. And for me, I find them fascinating. So this whole idea of discovery that I find it's so exciting. You have a question, you try and answer it, and you try and discover something new. I get really excited when your data works out the way that you think it should have been when you started asking your questions, or if they even more interesting is when they answer a question that you didn't think didn't think you had. I go to all these places, and I would say about 50% of the people I meet are not from that location, and they've traveled there to get out of their comfort zone, to meet new people, to do something that they wouldn't do in the town they grew up in. So I go to a place and I get culture shock every single time I go to a different place, even though I've traveled quite a bit. So I also like it a lot. I like feeling like a foreigner sometimes.